By now, President Trump's fondness for Fox News is public record. His tweets alone show just how faithful a viewer he is. But that relationship isn't without its perils, as Judge Andrew Napolitano recently learned the hard way. Adam has more.
Earlier this month, Fox News senior judicial analyst Andrew Napolitano took President Trump's unsupported claim that he was wiretapped by President Obama and gave it a transatlantic twist.
President Obama went outside the chain of command. He used GCHQ. What the heck is GCHQ? That's the initials for the British spying agency.
Napolitano repeated that charge in a Fox News opinion column. And then the White House quoted him to argue that Trump's wiretapping claim has merit.
Judge Andrew Napolitano made the following statement, quote, 3 intelligence sources have informed Fox News. All we're doing is literally reading off what other stations and people have reported.
GCHQ was not amused, calling the allegation utterly ridiculous. But then, after the White House promised not to repeat it, the president kind of did.
That was a statement made by a very talented lawyer on Fox. And so you shouldn't be talking to me, you should be talking to Fox.
And after Trump blamed Fox News, the network blamed Napolitano, pulling him off the air indefinitely. Meanwhile, his colleague Shep Smith issued what sounded like a retraction.
Fox News knows of no evidence of any kind that the now President of the United States was surveilled at any time in any way, full stop.
A Fox News nugget the president hasn't yet seen fit to share.
Well, so, Dan, one of the big issues inside Fox was that people like Sean Spicer said that Fox News reported it. Well, they didn't report it. One of the pundits said it. So the insiders were saying, wait a second. People like Shep Smith and Brett Baer and people who had supposedly non-biased, non-opinion show anchors are saying you can't allow the administration or anybody else to confuse the difference between someone's opinion and what we're reporting, which apparently is one of the reasons why they pulled him off.
Well, let's go to even more confusion, because even though Judge Napolitano is a Fox News commentator, he was kind of claiming to do reporting. He said he had 3 anonymous sources. One of the interesting things about this that I think may bear further exploration is that Rupert Murdoch, the owner of Fox News, is trying to acquire Sky News in Britain, and the British are extremely unhappy with what Judge Napolitano said, which may explain why the judge was taken off the air so quickly. That doesn't normally seem to happen at Fox.
Why else would they care if he said something that wasn't true?
Exactly.
I spoke to a couple of people over at Fox News, and there does seem to be this level of frustration that they have to work even harder than they did before to prove that, look, we are different from some of the other talking heads on our network. And there is this, I think from the general public's view, they look at Fox and go, oh, you guys have it easy in this administration. But it is much more difficult. For some of the rank and file reporters, they feel that it is much more difficult, and they have to work much harder to make sure that they're sourcing it properly so there's no confusion between what happens in the news department and happens on some of the talk shows and commentary.
It's also a really heavy responsibility, because anything that is uttered on that network could now go out in a presidential tweet or be repeated at a presidential news conference and could shape U.S. policy with I think, an intensity and a close linkage that we've never seen before in American politics. Another example of what Dan's talking about, which I agree is the most interesting part of the story, the Wall Street Journal editorial that likened the president to a drunk clutching
an empty gin bottle.
Clutching to his falsehoods like a drunk clutching an empty gin bottle.
Yeah.
That I also saw as an attempt to sort of make things up to anyone in the UK who might be inclined to.
He was very restrained. He did not respond to that editorial.
That's coming.
I'm
going to respond to that at some point. I would just note that as hard as the Shep Smiths and the Brett Bryers are trying to do what you said, Dan, they don't have the audience that some of the other shows.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's the echo chamber is like 10 times on those other shows, and they're quoting Judge Napolitano 100 times all day. And here's Shep Smith saying, "No, we did not report that. No, there is no evidence of that." So I don't know how you balance that at some point. And by the way, maybe how they could begin is by telling the Sean Hannitys when they make a statement on behalf of the network that they have to repeat it as well. That, in other words, the Sean Hannity has to say, listen, Fox News has not reported. We are using our commentator, Judge Napolitano, and that's what he said. I think that's the least they could do.
I'm trying to imagine
I
Sean
know.
Hannity
How
uttering
would that
those
work?
words. It's inconceivable.
I'm just saying.
No, but I think Dan
Yeah.
made the point. They only care because it has greater implications,
That's right.
because they have people on all the time that have said really outrageous, outlandish falsehoods, and there were no
Well,
consequences.
Hannity himself does it all the
True.
time, but he gets great ratings. He has not offended the British, apparently, which is very important right now to Rupert Murdoch. So they don't care.
Right, right. But obviously, in the past, we have never seen anything like this, where a president is quoting from things that show up on what you were referring to, that show up on air, right? Typically, there's some other confirmation that the president has before, they step out in front of a microphone. And so I think it puts this under a much different light.
Well, one thing we haven't mentioned, because we're talking about Fox, the president also said, well, I was just quoting the National Enquirer. Why are you blaming me?
Yeah, exactly.
The National
Saying that Ted
Enquirer.
Cruz's father helped kill JFK, right?
Yeah,
Right.
he's sticking with that.
Well, he's sticking with reporting that was in a newspaper.
Yeah,
That's
I'm sure it was.